Hi there, beautiful soul. Last week I uploaded a movie on YouTube about my first year of living with chronic fatigue syndrome. And when I uploaded it, I already knew that some crucial things were missing in this movie. So therefore, there is a second part of this movie. And if you haven't checked out the first one, you can either check it before this movie or after this movie. So I'd like to start with the day before I got chronic fatigue syndrome. And that was a very interesting day for me. Lots of things happened. But one thing happened, one thing that's very crucial, I think. On that day, I realized that I had achieved everything that my egoic self would possibly want in life. I was finally safe in life. Well, I was safe a long time before that, but I realized it on that day. Yet I realized I also did not feel at all as how I thought I would feel on that day. So I felt guilt, basically, for dragging my body along with me on all these encounters and actions and, well, I call it now coping mechanisms. It really felt like like my mind was in charge and my body was just following. So I felt lots of guilt for that. And I think that contributed in developing chronic fatigue syndrome. And many other people who I coach are talking about the exact same experience before they developed chronic fatigue syndrome. One man, for example, told me that the day before chronic fatigue syndrome, he handed out his research papers for his master so that he could finish his studies. And then the next day, he reached the goal, and then he went to party, and then the next day he developed chronic fatigue syndrome. But I've heard similar stories all over and over and over again. Something I really did not mention in my previous video was doctors. And yes, I've been to the hospital several times to several doctors, and they did all the tests on me, and they did not find anything. And my GP did not know what was going on. So basically, I already had like zero trust in hospitals and doctors, but from very early on, I already knew that this was going to be something that I had to solve myself. And I already also knew that maybe this would help me undevelop my egoic urges of how I was, because the day before I got ill, I also was wondering myself, how could I develop my ego and my all my urges and thoughts that I had. I did visit doctors every once in a while when I was really desperate, of course, but none of these things really led to anything. And basically every doctor congratulated me with my perfect health. So then I am there. I'm working less and less and less. And when you don't work, when you can't distract yourself any longer, you probably experience how you're actually feeling and how you've probably been feeling all the time. And, at those days I was still able to do stuff, especially on good days. I wasn't that bad in the first year. So sometimes I went to visit a friend. But at those days I felt such an incredible guilt for not being able to pursue my dreams. And then I realized that I've always felt that way. That I've always felt that I was in such a survival rush that I could not allow myself to have fun or to relax or something. So I was always busy, even on holidays, thinking about it. I was restless. I couldn't lay down. And in the first year of chronic fatigue syndrome, I was so stressed, basically because I wanted to get rid of my symptoms and I was in fight or flight mode all the time, that this restlessness became worse and worse. And I was, in the first year of chronic fatigue syndrome, so sharp as a knife. I felt like I was Sherlock Holmes at times. But it took me like 1 year in that mode and before I was completely exhausted and my brain fog was more and more, and then like around the 1 year mark I could not really remember my name and where I was living and stuff like that. And also around the same 1 year mark I decided to stop working completely. I think in the last 2 months I was working 2 half-a-days per month, and then I stopped it completely. And I was, for the first time in my life, relaxing, or maybe for the first time since I was a little child. And then I remember one day someone had a package for me, or anything. So I went down and I received the package. And this human was talking to me, and I had this really big feeling of, why does this, let's say, person talk to me? I am so unworthy. And I was quickly diminishing that thought, because it was actually pretty familiar. It was my shadow to feel unworthiness, and it was my egoic pattern to overcompensate this with lots of achievements. So my mind knew that I was worthy, yet my emotional body felt unworthy. What I couldn't know at that time is that all these things that I talk about were the things that I was going to focus on in my later recovery journey. Things like joy, things like emotions, things like coping mechanisms. And I was not ready for it at that time to look at those stuff, because it was painful, it was hard. And I immediately diminished such things in the beginning when I was, on the internet looking and searching for everything. So therefore, for everyone who is like pretty new to chronic fatigue syndrome, have an open mind to these kind of things, because it's really stressful having this inside of you. And it might help you to look at those things as well. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you have a beautiful, calm week or day, and that you can integrate calmness and freedom. And if you feel like it, you can check out my website. It has a recovery program based on donations, and it might help you in your journey. And my wish for you is that you will never know how difficult chronic fatigue syndrome can get, because you have been offered the right tools in the beginning, and therefore you don't really know what everybody else is talking about. That's my wish for you. Have a beautiful day. Bye.